I was on a search to find the perfect pre-built mechanical keyboard that was really nice to type on, super silent, made of really high quality PBS and all that stuff. And yes, I'm a noob, so I need to buy a pre-built. I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to build my own, learn how to solder, learn how to like lube all the switches. I don't have all that time. So I was really looking for something that was really good. So after countless hours of research, I was recommended by the internet experts to get the Leopold FC750R keyboard, which was a TKL, so it's a 10 keyless keyboard. And this was a type of keyboard that I would hope would have a lot of thought out of the box. Like I didn't have to do anything and it would be really smooth. So did I get the keyboard I was looking for? Well, in some ways, yes. And in some ways, it was really bad and very expensive. Do I regret getting this after paying all the shipping fees and the exorbitant international fees? Well, let's find out in this video. So I bought this keyboard on mechanicalkeyboards.com, and because I live in a Canadian address, I was heavily penalized with international fees, duty fees, and all that stuff. So it really sucks. The keyboard itself costs $124, but they tack on shipping fee, which is another $32, and then taxes at $20. So the total cost of this keyboard was really expensive at $176. Those who live in America have a different experience. They don't pay as much fees. Now, the closest competitor was the Durgod Taurus K320, and that was $33 cheaper. And if you bought it on Amazon, you do have a really good return policy. With mechanicalkeyboards.com, since they're a small business, they don't care about your customer satisfaction. You can't return it, or if you do return it, you have to pay a lot of fees just to return it. So this was a really big risk on my part. I thought this was going to be a really good keyboard worth the money and all that, but maybe not. So we'll find out a little bit more. So what do you get with this keyboard? Well, the main thing that they advertise with these high quality, over $100 type of keyboards is that you get PBT keycaps. And then you say, okay, so what does that mean? Well, basically what it means is that you don't get fingerprint oils on it, and it feels really kind of more high quality. It's a thicker, and the actual typeface on the keyboard caps aren't going to fade off. So it's a bit thicker, 1.5 millimeter thickness. It has dye sublimation, and it has this step sculpture 2 type of profile for the keycaps, and I'll talk about what that means and how it's different from the regular OEM keycaps. Now, apparently it does come with foam padding in order to reduce noise and to just kind of absorb all the sound. It has a cool color layout. I think I got the ash color, and it's just a very nice looking keyboard overall. It does have a detachable cable, although it's mini USB, which isn't a big deal because I'm not going to be using that cable for anything else. It's not like it's wireless. And I paid a $5 premium charge for the Chemex MX Silent Red. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Is it worth paying that little extra $5? So what are the things that you don't get with this keyboard in the similar price range in terms of its market competition? Well, the most obvious one is that it's not RGB, it's not wireless, and it doesn't use USB-C. Now, those are not a big deal for me, honestly. I don't really care. I'm not buying I'm not trying to find some flashy gaming board. It doesn't have really good media controls. There's no legend for it, for example. Another thing is that you don't get any keycap pullers, which kind of sucks because if you want to do maintenance on your keyboard, you want to clean underneath it, you have to get a third-party tool. And the Durgod keyboard comes with one its own, so I'm not sure why they skimped out on that. Now, in terms of the form factor, I have to say it's a beautiful looking keyboard. I love the ash yellow color. It looks really nice, and it feels really premium in the hands. It's very heavy. It's obviously it's not all made of plastic. It's made of more durable materials. Also, when you shake this keyboard, it doesn't rattle like a baby rattle, unlike the Logitech G915. This makes this keyboard feel a lot more premium than some of the more commercial brands out there. Another premium aspect of the Leopold keyboard is that the stabilizers on the spacebar and shift and whatnot are extremely well done. They are very high quality and they sound very good. One thing I noticed about the keycaps is that they have a kind of like a distinct bump to it. It's not a bump, but like a little rough surface, and they feel much premium. They don't get shiny because you're using the PBT double shot keycaps, so they don't attract fingerprint oils. So it just looks very professional and very nice. It stays that matte color. Now, ironically, I actually prefer the shiny, smooth surfaces of ABS keycaps instead of PBT keycaps, which are a little bit more rough. Now, what's really weird is that PBT keycaps feel slipperier despite having a rougher surface than ABS keycaps. And this slipperiness is not very conducive for my typing or gaming experience. Now, of course, this is all a matter of personal preference, but just be wary that even though you have PBT keycaps, doesn't necessarily mean you can get high quality ABS keycaps as well. They do exist. Now, one thing I was really worried about in terms of the form factor was how thick the keyboard looked in a lot of photos. I think this is just like an optical illusion. The keyboard was actually pretty flat, or in terms of not being too high off the actual surface. So it was a reasonable height, and I just kept it at that, just the flat surface. I didn't even use the kickstands to add that tilt. Regardless of whatever mechanical keyboard you use, I highly recommend using this 3M keyboard wrist pad, which is made of a very nice gel. In order to reduce repetitive strain injury on both your left and right hand, I do recommend getting the 25-inch, which gives you a level playing surface for your keyboard and mouse. This has been a game changer in my life, and I do recommend it. I'll leave a link in the description for it, and you can see that I already purchased it 2 times. Honestly, this keyboard feels like a tank. It's made of a really solid frame. Now, I do have one major annoyance, especially as a gamer, is that the surface on which it lies, it does move around a lot, and it's not as sturdy or as rubbery, or it doesn't have a lot of friction like the HyperX keyboard, which is a lot better in terms of preventing the keyboard from actually moving away as you using your WASD key commands and you push kind of more ferociously. You might move the keyboard and it might mess up your setup. The HyperX stays very solid in place, doesn't move around as you can see in this video, but the Leopold keyboard moves around more easily. It's not that bad, it's a little nitpick, but it's still something to note. Okay, so let's talk about the quietness, and this is one of the main reasons why I bought this mechanical keyboard with Cherry MX silent switches. The reason why I wanted this keyboard is to type in a very quiet house in a shared living space so I don't annoy the other person. So being able to type, honestly, it's fantastic. It is very silent, but there's some quality issues I've had with the mechanical switches I want to talk about a little bit later. So it's definitely a quiet mechanical keyboard, very appropriate for the office place or a shared living space. You know, if you're really quiet at night, you're not going to annoy your neighbors or anyone else near you. Obviously, it's still loud, isn't it? Because it's a keyboard, but it's going to be a lot quieter than any other type of mechanical keyboard, especially Cherry MX Reds. Now, I don't know how they use this voodoo magic and how they charge you an extra $5 and they transform the Cherry MX Red switches into the silent versions. I know they look slightly different. If you look at the actual switches, they're kind of like a pinkish hue. So yeah, it's really cool technology. I'm surprised how it works. I don't know how it can make it silent. I did some research on it. It's still mind-boggling for me. So I'm gonna get to the major downsides a little bit later, but let's talk about my typing experience. So right off the bat, I have to say it's a pleasant experience because it's something that I've never experienced before on a keyboard. Now, is it super good? Is it really good quality? Does it have that thock, or does it feel like a premium experience? Well, I'm gonna answer that a little bit later. But first, I have to say it's a little bit difficult to type on because it uses a different type of keycap profile, and this is called the Step Sculpture 2, and they have another version. It's called the OEM version, which is kind of a bigger keyboard, and I'm going to try and explain the differences between these two keycaps and something that you should really keep in mind. So the Step Sculpture 2 keycaps are a little bit more aggressive, so they're going to be a little bit closer together, a little bit smaller towards the top, and they're going to be a lot lower, so it's going to feel like you have less surface area to put your fingers on. And I have to say right off the bat, using this for gaming is absolutely awful, just terrible. And it just feels like you feel like your fingers are going to slip off. You don't have that nice kind of stable platform to put on your keyboard. Now with OEM keycaps, it's completely different. It's the complete opposite, in fact. You're going to get a taller keycap, a wider one at the top, and it's going to be a lot more stable and just a lot easier to kind of hold on to, especially when you're in a hardcore gaming experience. Now, I can see a minor benefit for having the more aggressive Step Sculpture 2 format if you're typing a lot, but if you're gaming, it's absolutely terrible. Don't do it. Don't buy this keyboard. If you do, you can replace the WASD, which I did, as you can see here. I swapped them out with the HyperX keycaps, and that honestly made it 10 times better. Like I can actually play CS:GO with this keyboard now, but it's just really crappy that I paid over almost $200 for this keyboard, and I have to replace the keycaps already because I just can't use them. So this is like one of the main issues when buying keyboards, especially from boutique shops like mechanicalkeyboards.com, is that they have a really poor return policy, unlike Amazon. So you can't return it, or if you do return it, you have to pay those exorbitant shipping fees and repackaging fees. So yeah, the keycaps have a rough texture. They don't feel slippery, but they do feel very unstable and hard to kind of just keep your finger on. It kind of almost adds fatigue to my fingers, to my hands. It's just a bad experience for gaming, but for typing, it's totally fine. I think what I might do in the future is replace all the PBT keycaps that came with the Leopold keyboard and just use some cheap ABS OEM keycaps for my DAS mechanical keyboard. I think it's an utter shame I have to do this, and hopefully I can sell these more premium quality double shot PBT keycaps from Leopold. Okay, so let's move on to the major downsides, and there's a major one here, and it's that annoying ping noise. Let me say that again. Every time you type, anytime it rattles, it pings, it's very, very annoying. Just listen to it for yourself. With my recording equipment, it's very difficult to pick up this ping noise. However, in all honesty, you can compare it to this type of sound that I mimicked. Now this is all because it's made of an aluminum frame. It's not using plastic, so it's naturally going to echo or reverberate within the keyboard. So this totally sucks. And I thought they would put enough foam padding to reduce it, but nope, they did not. I think they really cheaped out on this, and they didn't make a really good, just a good experience. So if you guys have any tips on how to fix this, please let me know. I spoke to some keyboard experts in my where I work, and they said that it's very hard to disassemble this keyboard because it doesn't have like screws and stuff like that. So it's just not a good experience if you want to do any aftermarket mods to it. But please let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. So my final complaint with this keyboard, aside from it being overly expensive and has a ping noise and is a really not a very good steps culture to keycap profile, is that the actual switches when you type on them are very scratchy. They just don't feel smooth. It's just like a really sad experience. The sound it makes, because it's silent and it sounds like very thumpy. I wouldn't say thocky, but like kind of like a thump, like a nice like that. You can hear it for yourself. But when you type on it, there's almost kind of just resistance. And I know it's really hard. It's hard to explain it, but it's just not smooth. And I know that I could probably fix it if I lubed it, but honestly, I don't know how to do that. I'm a noob, so please let me know in the comment section down below. Hey guys, I'm just reviewing this as someone who just wants to buy a mechanical keyboard, maybe pay a few extra bucks for something that's supposed to be of higher quality and a better user experience, but I think I got completely ripped off in the end. I should have known that I should have bought off Amazon or go on Best Buy and test more mechanical keyboards. I'm still hunting for the perfect 10 keyless mechanical keyboard that's really good for gaming and also really good for typing, but isn't all click-atty. So please let me know in the comment section down below if there's anything that you can recommend. So yeah, that's it. So to wrap this up, it's a very nice looking keyboard, very expensive, has terrible ping noise. The foam doesn't do anything to reduce it. The step sculpture tube keycap profiles are terrible. If you do get this keyboard, then just get the OEM profile keycaps. I think that'll be better, the OEM version, for example. And yeah, I just think it's overrated. From all the hype I've heard on the interwebs, all these reviews, I was just very disappointed. So not only am I disappointed with the Logitech G915 10 keyless keyboard, I'm also very dissatisfied with this one. So in the end, I'm still looking for the end game keyboard, something that really meets my criteria. I really think there should be like kind of like a specialized service, someone that you can commission to build or find the best keyboard, or maybe there should be a keyboard convention where you can just go and just try every keyboard, and then maybe then you can make your financial decision. So after learning this lesson, would I recommend this keyboard? Would I buy it again? Well, the answer is an obvious no. I obviously would have probably gone with OEM keycaps, and I probably wouldn't have bought this brand. Maybe I would just went with Durgod, which also has Cherry MX Silent Reds. So what I hope you learned from this video is that you've learned my lessons, and that when you make your purchase of an expensive keyboard, you really consider these factors. So anyways, that's it for this video. I will leave a link in the description for some of the keyboards I've been reviewing and testing. Check them out if you want. And I'll see you in the next video.